We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We wish.
Hello, my crafty friends. I sure hope you're having a fabulous day. My name is Robyn Pitts. If you're new to my channel or you're a returning subscriber, welcome. And welcome back to the October installment of Christmas All Year Collab 2025, hosted by Betty from Scrap Passion 01. For my project today, I've created this easy Christmas shaker shadow box, which measures 5 by 7. Before I get into the details, I want to review some of the products that I use, and then I'll also have a short tutorial for you at the end of the video, so you can make one of these yourself. To make my shadow box card, I used an older die from Crafter's Companion. This is the 5 by 7 shadow box die. Now this was available a few years ago, and they had a 4 by 6, a 5 by 7, and then a slimline size. I don't believe these are available anymore. However, if you own this die set and you have not used it yet, I will show you how to assemble the box. If you don't have the die, I will also have a tutorial that shows you how to make the shadow box from scratch. So we have both bases covered. The paper collection that I used is from the Crafter's Companion Watercolor Christmas. I used both the acetate and this beautiful watercolor Christmas paper. Now, let's take a closer look at my card. This is my card, and I love the way this turned out. It was so easy to make. On the upper right-hand corner, we have this sentiment that says Merry and Bright. On the upper left and the lower right, we have these beautiful poinsettias, which I've created. I've made them in red and blue. If you look closely, you can see the white snow. I added snow text, and on top of that, I added a crystal embossing powder. So not only does it have a nice puffy texture, you can also see the crystal. On the perimeter of the box, this silver layering piece is included in the Crafter's Companion Shadow Box die. However, if you do not have that die, you can simply cut out your own border and then add them along the sides of the box. Now, if you look inside, you'll notice that there are several different layers. All of these images here are from the paper collection. They have a pop-out page with each of these elements, and I simply added them together to create this scene. In the back, we have 2 circles. I have them popped up on foam tape, and then on top of that, we have these snowflake pearls. So in the background, we have the tree, we have the little birdie, we have the fox, the hedgehog, and these adorable little presents. And then in the bottom of the box, I have these shaker beads. Now, the one thing I did to enhance these images was I took my crystal stickles and then I outlined each of the animals just to make them look like they're snow covered and they have a little sparkle to them. Now, on the inside, we have this sentiment that says, "May the spirit of Christmas bring you happiness and joy." And here we have this adorable little deer, and each of these snowflakes are in silver foil. Now that I've given you an overview of my card, let's make this. Now, I've already created 2 previous videos that showed you how to make the 5 by 7 shadow box using the Crafter's Companion die, and I also have a separate tutorial that shows you how to make it from scratch. I'm going to attach those videos and you can watch them at your leisure. We will need to create 5 by 7 shadow boxes. This is what the box looks like when it's assembled. And to create that, I've used the Crafter's Companion 5 by 7 shadow box die. Now, this is a very lengthy die, and you will need to use your extra long plates if you're using the Gemini, the Anna Griffin Impress, or your Platinum Plus. When you're using this die, you will notice that the sides of the die will go to the very end of your clear cutting plates. That's okay. It will still run through your die cutting machine just fine. If anything at all, you may have to trim the side edges here if you find that your clear plates are slightly warped. But that's not a big deal because the score mark will already be on the paper from the edge of the die. To assemble the piece, you will need to fold and burnish along all the score lines. So it'll create a score line here, 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 and then here. And then you want to do that on all 4 sides. So I know it's a bit difficult to see on this patterned paper. You also want to make sure that you take care to fold in these little corner pieces here. This is important for the die cut piece because it actually holds the corners of the boxes together. Once you've folded and burnished your piece of paper, we're going to assemble. I find the easiest way to assemble this box is to turn it on the side. We're going to put adhesive on this tab right here. Now you could use score tape, but I'm just going to use regular liquid glue. And I'm going to put glue right on this last tab here. Don't go over the score line, but you want to get a nice even layer. Once you've placed your glue, what you want to do is fold down at the second score mark like this, and then you want to turn this whole section over onto itself, just like so. Okay, take your bone folder and make sure there's a strong adhesion. When you fold the piece up, you'll notice that you have a little box. So we're going to repeat the same thing on this side. So let's add glue to this tab. We're going to bend it over just like so. Use your bone folder to make sure there's a strong adhesion. So here you have another little box. Now we're going to start working on the ends. So the first thing we're going to do is put glue on this tab here. We're also going to take these little corner pieces and we're going to tuck them inside just like so. Okay, so you want to tuck them inside and we're going to put glue on this little triangle here. We're also going to put glue on a diagonal on this top piece here. So we're going to repeat the same thing on the other side. We're going to put glue on this little triangle here, and then we're going to put glue on a diagonal right here. Okay, so I'm going to turn this around, and what we're going to do is roll over the piece, and you'll tuck down the top of the box just like so, and you'll see that the mitered edges happen instantly. Okay, and you want to remove any excess glue. The reason it's important to put glue on these side pieces is because it holds the edges together. So just give that a few seconds to hold, and then you have a nicely mitered box. You see how perfectly square the corners are? So now let's work on the bottom of the box. We're going to repeat the same step. We're going to put glue on this tab here. We're going to fold in these little corner pieces, just like so. We're going to do that on both sides. And then we're going to put glue on this little triangle here. We're going to put glue here on a diagonal, and then glue on this little triangle piece here. Okay, so I'm going to turn this around. I'm going to roll over this tab, making sure that the edges are nice and square. Okay, and give that a few seconds to hold. Okay, and this is our shadow box. As you can see, it looks just like this one. For those of you who don't have the Shadowbox dies, I'm going to show you how to make it just with cardstock. To make the Shadowbox, you'll need a piece of cardstock that measures 9 by 11 inches, and this is an 80-pound cardstock. Then you're going to score your paper on all 4 sides using the following measurements: 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 1.5 inch, and 2 inches. Once you've made the score marks on all 4 sides, on the 11-inch side, you're going to go over to the 2.5-inch mark, and you're going to make a score line down to the second line only. So once again, you're going to go over to the 2.5-inch mark. You're going to go down 2 score lines. Then you're going to go to the 8.5-inch mark. You're going to go down 2 lines. Okay, this is what it looks like. You can see we're only going down to the 2 lines here and here. Then you want to flip your page over. Again, you're going to measure over to the 2.5 inch mark, go down 1, 2, and you're going to go to the 8.5 inch line, and you're going to go down 1, 2. Now that we have all of the score marks made, we can begin to cut the page. So turn the paper to the 9 inch side, and we're going to cut on the 2 inch score line all the way up to this last score line right here. Okay, so you can see where that is. You're going to cut all the way up, and then you're going to cut all the way up on the opposite side. So let's do that together. And we're going to do that on the opposite side. Now that we have these pieces cut, we're going to turn the paper back to the 11 inch side, and we're going to cut on that 2.5 inch mark that we made right here. We're going to cut right up to that second score line. We're going to cut across the little box and then up. When you cut up, you will meet this cut part here, and this whole area will cut off. So let me show you what I mean. So I'm cutting up to the second score line. I'm cutting on a diagonal, okay, right to the edge of that box. And then I'm cutting straight up. And when I do, this piece comes out. Let's repeat it on this side. I'm cutting up to the second score line. I'm going to cut on a diagonal right across the box to the next score mark, and then I'm going to cut straight, and this piece will come out. Okay, so let me do that with you one more time on the opposite side. I know this can be a little confusing. We're cutting up to the second score line. We're going to cut on a diagonal. And you want to be careful with your cutting. Precision is very important. And then we're going to cut up. Okay, we're going to do it on this side again. Cut up to the second score mark. Cut on a diagonal. And then we're going to cut up. And this is what your piece should look like. Now we're going to fold and burnish along all of the score lines. Now that we've folded along the score lines and burnished, we can start to assemble. We're going to put glue or score tape on this tab. We're going to fold down 1, 2, down the second score line, and then turn it over on itself, just like so, and then use your bone folder to burnish it. Okay, so now we can fold this up. And we have our first box. Okay, let's do the same thing on this side. We're going to put glue on the tab, fold down to the second score line, just like so, and then turn this entire piece over onto itself, and then burnish. And we have our second little box. Now that we have the sides complete, we're going to assemble the bottoms. Put glue on these tabs here. I'm going to turn this over. I'm going to put glue right here and right here. And before I tuck it in, I'm going to put glue right here and glue right here. And just let that sit for a moment. Here we go. Now let's turn this over on the other side. We're going to put glue on this tab. We're going to put glue right here. Right here. We're going to fold this over. Before we tuck it in all the way, we're going to put glue on these corners. Okay, and then we can stick it in. Just like so. And let that set for a second. And there we have our Shadowbox. Now let me bring in the 2 that I made using the die. So these are the 2, and this is the one we made by hand. Hopefully I've inspired you with new and creative ideas. If you like this video, please take a moment to give me a thumbs up. Also, be sure to check the description box below. We have a wonderful lineup of designers who are participating in the Christmas All Year collab. Thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you next month. Bye for now, and happy crafting.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas.